But I had an accident back in July. I wasn't doing anything illegal. I was riding within the speed limit. I just hit gravel in the middle of the road, just as we were about to approach a corner. I panicked once I hit the gravel and locked my rear wheel. This caused the bike to fishtail and it high-sided me. It flung me off the bike. Bike came off not too bad. Dented the tank and had to get new handlebars, etc. But other than that, it was pretty much in good condition. It's just got scratches. Let's get a new foot peg, etc, etc. But you know, it was small stuff. The bike came off okay. I, however, didn't, and I ended up sliding along the floor after coming off the bike. So I went down on the ground on my side, shoulder hit the floor. Don't quite know when it all happened, as in what injuries happened when. I'll get to my injuries in a second. But I hit the floor, slid along the floor, and then crashed again into the verge on the corner. It was a raised verge, and yeah, I hit the verge and went up the verge. The injuries I sustained were dislocated arm, or shoulder, dislocated shoulder, broken collarbone, 3 broken ribs, and a punctured lung. I was bleeding into my lung after the crash. Oh, and a hematoma, which I still have, which hurts. If you don't know what a hematoma is, it's basically where the blood inside your body has gone into your fat cells. I'm a fat git. Yeah, basically the blood has gone into the fat cells and it causes like a sort of permanent bruise. It can last anywhere from a couple of months to several years before it heals. And I still have mine, and it still hurts. I was a lot more swollen up on my side than I am now. I was actually having to wear 2 sizes bigger trousers just to actually fit. But it's gone down a lot more now. The trousers that I was wearing, and I have to wear a belt just to keep up because they will fall down. But yeah, but I had to get an air ambulance because I was with 3 mates. We were having a little ride, a weekend down in Brighton. It's happened all down sort of Petersfield, Chichester, Southampton way. It made the news as well. I linked the article. It doesn't say much, and they actually got it wrong. They say I hit a tree, which I don't actually believe is true. I hit gravel, came off, and then hit the verge. May have hit a tree when I was in the verge, I don't know. But thank you. Oh, I've got to stop saying sorry, it's just me trying to think about everything that happened. So don't say again there. So yeah, they rang the ambulance, they phoned 999 and tried to flag down cars that were going past. The first car didn't stop, he just carried on. It was on a quite quiet road. The first car didn't stop, he just carried on. Luckily the second car did stop, and someone must have been looking over me that day, because the car that did stop had an off-duty nurse and her daughter in, and she was fantastic. She stopped me going into shock, so that was fantastic. The second car that we managed to pull over was an off-duty fireman, or I can't remember what their name is. I don't think he was a fireman. He was something to do in the fire brigade. But he was one of those. So yeah, luckily I had a trained nurse at the accident within seconds. I'm so lucky. She kept me calm, kept me talking, because I did start to sort of go out of consciousness at one point, and she just kept me talking and kept me awake basically. So yeah, then we managed, the ambulance came and they looked me over and they couldn't figure out what was properly wrong. They knew I had a dislocated shoulder, but they didn't know about my lung. And I was struggling to breathe. I was actually on the floor for 2 hours before I was lifted. Not because they were being lazy and were taking their time. They couldn't assess what was wrong with me, and they didn't know if it was okay to move me. And they had to get an air ambulance to come and, well, help me really, take me to hospital. Southampton Hospital I was at. Anyway, yeah, the ambulance came and the paramedics were there, and they were trying to sort of assess what was wrong with me, etc, etc. And they kept asking me about sort of like where I lived, what my name was, etc. I think it was all just trying to keep me awake, but I was really struggling to breathe. At this point the blood was filling up my right lung. I was struggling to breathe properly. I was really struggling. I was having to take like really shallow breaths, and talking was getting harder and harder, and so I was getting wound up when she kept asking me to talk. And eventually I shouldn't have said it really, but eventually I was just like, yeah, shut up, stop asking me, I can't breathe. So at that point they were listening to my chest, but they were conflicting views. One of the paramedics said it was my left lung, which sounded as if it wasn't as good, and the other one was saying it was my right lung. So they still weren't any sort of further. They knew something was wrong, but they still couldn't figure out what. And once the air ambulance crew came, I heard them talking. They were saying, oh, something's wrong with him, dislocated arm, broken collarbone, something's wrong with his breathing. And they got the little sort of ultrasound thing out, and they were doing that out as well, because he was starting to press against my chest. And then I believe it was then when they found out my lung was collapsing. So they had to perform roadside surgery. They cut a hole into the side of my body. That hurt. I was on morphine at that point, but I could still feel it. It really hurt. They cut a hole into the side of my chest to get a drainage pipe in there to try and get the blood, make sure my lung didn't collapse fully. I really do have to stop saying but hopefully that will get better as I vlog more. So I wish I could just forget the word ever existed. So when they had the tube in there, they then decided that it was time for me to basically get to hospital. So they tried to put me onto one of them spinal boards, and I thought the pain up to then was bad. When they tried moving me, that was agony. I was screaming in pain, literally screaming. They rolled me onto my side, my left side, which wasn't damaged, and tried to get me onto the spinal board. Yeah, tried to move me onto the spinal board, and I was just screaming in pain. And at this point they injected me with something which I later found out was ketamine, the horse tranquilizer. I was asleep basically within about 10 seconds. I don't even know what happened after that. I was just in and out. I felt fantastic, I have to admit. I felt absolutely fantastic. I woke up on the spinal board just facing the sky, and there's this pretty little paramedic lady standing over me. And I actually said to her, I got her to come closer to me, and I said, "You are really beautiful," and she was like, "Okay, thank you." But yeah, then I just fell asleep again. And the next time I woke up, I was being put into the helicopter. That was really loud. And then after that, I was just out. I was literally awake in the helicopter for about 10 seconds. Saw the blaze turning. I think I saw the blaze turning. And then I was just out. And I woke up again once we'd reached the hospital, and they were wheeling me in. I saw the lights above because I was just facing upwards. I think I was in one of those neck braces, so I couldn't move. So yeah, I was just basically looking at the ceiling and just seeing these lights flashing by. But I didn't think at that point, I didn't think, oh, I'm dead. You know, people say lights flashing by, oh, you can die. I didn't think that. I was like, oh, I'm alive, I'm fine. But I kept sort of drifting in and out at that point. And then the next point I woke up, I was sat upright in the bed, tubes hanging out at me, tube up my nose with oxygen. And I woke up and was like, I need water. I needed water from the very moment I crashed. My mouth was really dry, but they can't give it to you because they can't, you know, I don't know why it is. I think it's something to do with x-rays and stuff. I woke up, sat upright and was like, I need some water. And they went, oh, we can't give you water yet, you have to have a scan. So I was like, oh, really dry mouth. It was like I had cotton in my mouth. It was just, there was no moisture in my mouth at all. Yeah, so I had the CAT scan thing where I was, you know, going to this big machine. I had to go into this tube. That was fine until the thing started happening. I started to get really hot and really warm. And it was over in about sort of 2 minutes, I think. But as soon as I got out of the machine and they sat me up, I was like, I'm going to throw up. I'm going to throw up. And they had to give me a little thing, and I threw up into this little cardboard bowl. Yeah, I know, gross, isn't it? And then it took me back to the room that I was in. This is 60, what are we doing? They took me back into the room that I was in before. I said, can I have some water now? And they gave me some water in a big jug. I drank the whole jug. Apparently I was supposed to sip, but no one had told me that yet. I had just been given water and I was just downing this water. And a couple of minutes later I was like, I'm going to be sick again. Threw up just basically clear liquid. I was throwing up the water I had just drunk. So yeah, that was good. And after that I got told to, yeah, you need to sip. And I had another x-ray and I was taken to a ward. But by this time I had the crash about 4 o'clock, I think it was, 3 or 4 o'clock. And the time now was, after I sort of fully come around, was drinking water, etc. The time then was 9:20. So I was out of it a good hour, 2 hours. I must have just been asleep. And yeah, after that it was just sort of the road to recovery, really.